Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Two Dicks Exposed. I am your host, not Mike.
And I'm most certainly not Pat.
And today we are going to talk about something very near and dear to our heart, and something that this man right here is a master on. Yeah, absolute master,
Yeah,
like
for
world
sure,
champion
for sure.
at least.
Definitely have hours put into this
And
throughout the past.
I hope I'm not crossing any lines here when I say a small fortune, maybe, as well.
Oh, definitely. I don't want to know the number. I'll say that for sure.
Oh, my God. So, of course, that means we're talking about Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yes.
Something that, I don't know, 20 years?
Just had their 25th anniversary this year.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
Man.
so it's been since middle school.
Middle school, yeah.
And,
I still remember, like, to all you devout listeners, I think I told this story before, where my dad took me to a mall, and I picked up the Yugi starter deck, and I got approached by this guy who was like, "Oh, you want to play this game? I'll play you." And yeah, sat down. I was playing by like the anime rules, which are nothing close to
everyone was.
Right.
Playground Yu-Gi-Oh was the way to go.
It's
back
oh
then.
my God, it was the best. It was the best. You just summoning however many monsters you wanted,
Nobody
traps
knew
and
what
spells.
sleeves
Nope.
were.
No. Sometimes I just licked my card. I was just
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this will give
Yeah.
it extra strength."
The rubber band protector was the way to go around your
Yup.
cards that nowadays are worth a small fortune. So yeah, if we would have had the forethought to keep in store, it's just like the Pokemon stuff.
Just like Pokemon and like Beast Wars and Transformers and like
I mean,
Ugh.
it was like the opposite of what people said Beanie Babies were going to be. Like,
Right.
man, keep this thing protected. It's going to be worth money one day. And here we are with a starter deck Yugi being worth like 2,500,
Jesus.
$3,000, if not more. Like,
Oh my God, that's
just the set.
stupid.
People, I mean, COVID did a lot for that though too, because I know COVID did a lot for the Pokemon stuff. But yeah, those were good times.
And like the worst part is too, like, is anything from the Yugi or Kaiba structure deck still played? Like, Monster Reborn,
So
and I guess Magicians and Blue Eyes both have their own deck now, right?
So, Change of Heart just was banned for the longest time and came back and is finally able to be played again. There's a lot, like Monster Reborn is played every once in a while, but so the thing is like power creep is a thing where cards like aren't going to be used nearly as much as the game progresses because you have to sell new stuff. But the old stuff is so overpowered that a lot of it, you know, if it is legal, it does see play. So like Change of Heart just coming back is huge, and they're starting to do cool things where they retrain old cards.
Okay.
To make them playable now, just for the nostalgia, because people don't realize that like the age group in the game now is all of us who played back then.
Yeah, like this is not a children's TCG
No,
at all.
So they've recently like talked about how they're not getting a lot of new players into the game, and they're trying to make it more kid focused. But long gone are the days of like literal playground Yu-Gi-Oh, where I have a monster and I attack
Right.
your monster.
Dude, the game used to be so easy. Like the most complicated part of the game was tributes.
Right.
Like, that was it. And now you have like, I don't even know. Like
Come on.
I got some stuff. Hold on. You got the synchros. You
Yes.
got the whatever. What's the black cards that you stack
exceeds.
everything? The exceeds. You got the ones with the clock on it, or the timers, or something like.
There's link summoning, which is there's so many forms now. It's like gotten out of control. But that's just to keep it enjoyable for the people that have been playing for 25
Right.
years like me. But I mean, it's definitely undergone a lot of changes. But I remember like in middle school playing at like lunch table, stuff like that, and it's cool. And that
Do you remember when we tried to throw our own Duelist Kingdom during lunch, and we actually
do.
like made the gloves, and we got like styrofoam cutouts
Yes.
with like gold little paper cutout stars and like thumbtacks that we put in the wrist.
And it's so funny because like not like very few people have like an experience like that lasts this long, like memories like that last this long in anything else. If it's not Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, something like that you started as a kid, like you're not going to have cool memories like that. Like I remember us doing like tournaments like in our houses.
Right.
It's like,
Which was still
God,
pretty
it was
dope
so
because
good.
like in our friends group, we had like 20 people that played Yu-Gi-Oh. So we held like legitimate tournaments.
And I can honestly say the longest friends that I've had are like that group.
Yeah.
Like in my
easily.
life are from that group.
Easily.
And dude, it was what a time. And I just remember, do you remember when I think somebody stole your cards in middle school?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to shout him out,
Name drop.
but yeah, certain guy that none of us talk to anymore.
Yeah, I would say that.
Or are you talking about the lady who stole my cards?
I don't remember.
Because I had a stalker in middle school that stole all my Yu-Gi-Oh cards
No.
because she wanted an excuse to talk to me.
I mean, that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
Did you talk to her?
Just to get my Yu-Gi-Oh cards back.
Just send her straight to
Not
the
starting
shadow
off. Yeah, not starting off on a great
Not
foot.
not a great foot. It was like okay because like I had a class with her
Mm-hmm.
and she came up and she was like, "Hey, by the way, I found these. I think they're yours." And I was like, "Oh
Do
my
you
god,
vaguely
I
remember
lost
that?
those." And then like I don't remember who it was, but someone came up and they're like, "Hey, by the way, I saw her go into your locker and like grab them. So I don't know what kind of creepy things going on here." And I was like, "All right, yeah, that kind of like fits the bill." So yeah, it was your name, but say it twice. That
Ah,
yeah,
yes,
that's
yes,
who
yes.
that was.
Upstanding individual.
Great person. so I gotta ask because I got back into the game a little bit after college. Actually, we both did.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because I had stopped for a while as well.
we stopped, and I think me and you just one night we got hammered and we went to Walmart and we were like, let's just fucking buy Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
I don't even think that's why we went to Walmart.
No.
I think we stumbled over to the card section and
Yeah,
we're just like,
I guarantee you we went there for like Doritos and like oven
think
pizza.
so.
And we were like, it'd be great if we just got like Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And that was when Blackwing and Lightsworn were like the top decks.
yeah.
Because I remember thinking it was like so cool that you could just buy like 3 Blackwing structure decks or something like that. I think
Dark
was,
World?
or Dark World.
Dark
That's
World.
what it was. Dark World. You just got 3 of the Dark World Monarch, and like that was a solid deck in and of itself.
Yeah, because and that was something cool that they started doing for competitive side too, was when they started making structure decks that weren't starter decks that somebody who'd been playing at that point, we were playing for 10 years? The game been out for like
Right.
10 years. Who were looking to get back into the game from a competitive standpoint, you could go buy 3 structure decks, which were like before then, like starter decks, yeah, they got you into the game and they gave you the rulebook and everything, but the cards you were given, like good luck taking that
Right.
to any event. Anything.
You had like the cover card, which was maybe good, so
yeah, because even
and
that
that's
was
a strong
crapshoot.
maybe.
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
Like first time around when we played, we had the Yugi, the Kaiba, the Joey, the
I remember
Mai.
when Joey and Pegasus released,
Yes,
and that was like,
dude, when the Red Eyes came out,
I remember trading an entire Toon deck for the Red Eyes because I was a kid. I didn't have the money to go buy a structure
Right.
deck, but I wanted the Red Eyes and the Scapegoats, and I just the negs.
dude. I remember when the tins came out.
Oh,
I put a Jinzo tin, like a $25 Jinzo tin on layaway, and I was paying like $5 a week because that's
Yes,
all I could afford with my
yes.
allowance. And I got it after like a month, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
I just remember the bulk of me gaining anything was Christmas or Easter, because I remember we used to get one good gift for Easter, and then like candy, and then like Christmas. And I just remember my mom getting to the point where she was like, "I'm not buying you any more fucking cards. Like they're all over this house." And that's pretty much where my addiction started.
Dude, I still remember like meeting up in your basement and just everyone bringing their cards out, and you had like a 10-foot table that was just
Yeah.
completely covered in
Covered.
cards, just 100% covered. Like the floor was covered. There'd be like 5 people just laying on the floor playing cards, while the rest of us are like just sorting stuff. And oh my god,
Building
dude,
decks.
just
And so then my addiction obviously got worse when I got the ability to purchase stuff on my own, which is
right when you realize like a $12 deck or something like that
like,
isn't a
so
lot
I've
for an
talked
adult.
about this with Dan a lot. Like, remember when buying a box of packs?
You mean Orange Joe?
Orange Joe, yes. Buying a box of packs was the most like out there
Astronomical
idea that
thing
you would
ever.
never, ever. And I think that contributed to my problem was now that I can do that, and like not only one, like sure it's $79 to $100 a box.
It's
but,
it's not completely unreasonable to just walk out of a store with like
I think
3
it was
boxes.
when we were kids.
When we were kids, oh my god, like
When I got a pack, I was blown. When my mom, when we would go to like Walmart
Yeah.
and be like, "You can get a pack," and it's like, "This better be the best pack I've ever gotten." And you pull and you hollow, and it is great. And but that was all you got. I used to mow lawns. Like I remember I got like my allowance was like $5 for
Yeah.
mowing lawns. But the issue was like our locals was like $5 to play. So like, did I want cards or did I want to like play with my friends? And then like, did I want food afterwards? And it was like, all of these things were so unobtainable as a kid. And now that I'm adult, it's literally just like fueled my addiction because I can.
Dude, I remember when we used to play at the card shop, like my mom would give me like $10. She'd be like, make sure you eat dinner afterwards. And I'm like,
I don't need
all
food.
Right, I don't need food. I need 2 packs of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And then I'm sitting there, I'm like, I got nothing.
Yep.
And I'm like, fuck, now I need to ask for food because I'm really hungry.
Well, and like even like now, because it's still playing now, like if I want like building a deck back then was like, man, I hope somebody in our friends group pulls this card that I want for this deck to build. And now I'm just like, yep.
Oh my God, yeah.
It'll be here next week. Like,
we have the internet now.
correct.
Like all of our decks back then was what was in our little circle of 20 people. Yeah. Oh my God. I didn't even think about how
There
like
has
Amazon
been, like,
and eBay
a
have changed
serious
our lives.
revolution. Like, so there's a website called TCG Player that
Okay.
you can buy Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, and like any other like card game you can think of, and it's like the same thing with Amazon. Like you want it, you click it, you buy it, and it's there in a week. And that was never available as a kid,
Right.
which blows my mind about how anybody could win any event with any deck then, because my brain was not able to compute like what was good.
Yeah.
I think the only like Pojo.com was like,
Pojo.
where was that? Because
Oh my
you were
God.
like, let me just, what's the
The
deck
Team
list that
Wars.
came
Do you
out,
remember
like-
the Team Wars where
Oh
we
my
would
God.
duel over AIM?
Legion of Llamas.
Yes.
To all you viewers out there, we were dumb kids and we just made a cult at pojo.com just called Legion of Llamas, and we were like going around trying to be the best, and we were just like dueling people over instant messenger.
Which like is a super reliable.
Reliable. I definitely never cheated.
Never cheated. Never
Nope.
typed in something that I never saw.
Yep.
It's crazy
can't
how
tell
you
you-
always start with Pot of Greed.
Right.
It's wild.
Always pot of greed and graceful charity.
Yep.
Same hand.
Yep.
And then it's like, oh, I think I'm about to lose. Good thing I have Exodia, all
Right.
5 pieces.
What a shame.
Right. It's like I definitely wasn't playing a Dark Magician deck because I have
Yeah,
Exodia.
but they were doing it too.
They-
Like
Oh.
the naivety of us to even think that that was like a possible thing to have like any actual game over AOL Instant Messenger.
And then the other shitty thing, and that we definitely did not do,
Never.
was when we would reach out to people and be like, "Hey, I'm looking for a trade. I'll one
Oh
for
my God,
one you."
Pojo was a
Oh
nightmare.
my God! And then
Because you had to use the mail
You
system
had to
and
use
there
the
was
mail.
no accountability.
No.
Like,
no, you'd be like, "Look,
You were an
I don't
idiot if
trust
you
you.
sent it."
Send it to me first, and when I receive it, I'll send you my card."
yeah.
Yeah, it was.
That was
God.
awful.
It was
But so
Oh.
like back to the beginning, I want
Yes.
to talk about how like Yu-Gi-Oh was one of those games like so I look at like Pokemon, and people got into the trading card game because of the anime, right? But I think what we're starting to see like now is like people got into the anime because of the card game in Yu-Gi-Oh. So because I remember not ever seeing the anime and buying cards, and I think back then it was so player friendly that I then got into the anime. And it's tough because now the game is so different that it's not like so the Pokemon game, from what I understand, has remained relatively unchanged since the beginning. The mechanics, the way the game is played.
guess.
I know there's like different ways that it goes, but like somebody watching the anime could never play the actual
Could never play
Yu-Gi-Oh
Pokemon
game.
cards,
or
no.
or Pokemon cards.
Or-
Like yeah, there's
oh,
no
yeah,
way.
or-
There's no way. So like it was weird to me to see the change of how Yu-Gi-Oh has so many different animes. I haven't watched anything since.
Is that even still on the
5Ds.
air?
Yes.
Is it really?
Yes. There is. I don't know what it's called, but there is.
I think it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens. It's like the weird, like,
Is that the Rush Duel one?
yeah.
Yeah. So there's like.
See, I don't even know what a rush duel is.
Yep. Neither do I.
So they just play with 3 cards? I think it's 3
Yes.
monsters, 3 magic traps.
like Duel
instead
Links,
of
I
5.
think?
Yeah, so I think the whole story is like the kid got tired of normal Yu-Gi-Oh! So he like made his own version that's now like mainstream. So they have like rush cards that combine together. Like it's kind of like Pokemon where you have like a top card, a bottom card, but
Okay.
they're like 3 left to right. So you can fill like your whole monster zone up with one creature that gets more powerful as you collect pieces. But like it's only Japan. So what happened is like to promote the anime in Japan, they made rush duels. Not rush duels. They made like the sevens duels. And then in America, they made speed duels which is just like Diet Yu-Gi-Oh for people that complain about how complex the game is now. They can play like old school.
So it's like a. Do you still have a deck, or is it literally just like 6 cards?
No, it's still like 40 cards. Like you still play it. Like they have the same cards we do. They actually like have been reprinting like Pot of Greed, like Graceful Traitor, like all the old cards with like updated art, so you can play them and everything like that. It just
art
has like
style's
different formats.
really cool though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is something that I wish, like, because I look at Pokemon cards and I'm like, man, these things are gorgeous, like works of art. And Yu-Gi-Oh is just, this is the picture of the card, and it may be black, it may be blue, but this is like what
This
you
is
get.
it. So there is something that Orange Joe just touched on that I kind of want to bring up, and that's the deck size. So Yu-Gi-Oh is kind of going through a little bit of a change when it came to deck size.
Correct. There was an incident.
There was an incident, and I know of 2. You might know of a second one, but I know a big thing that changed was the fusion deck. You used to be able to have infinite fusions,
yes,
and I
yeah,
believe
yeah.
they limited that
To
because now it's
15.
combined with the extra deck,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
But people used to play the Mad Scientist deck.
Yeah. Magical
with
Scientist.
The Magical Scientist.
The FCK.
Yeah, with all the rituals. And you would just collect any ritual because you were like,
Fusion.
I need, or
Yeah,
fusion,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Because you were like, I need to be able to play anything at any point. And then the other thing I know of is a guy who went to a tournament and brought like 1,000 card deck. And he would time things out because he would keep using search cards, and it would take like so long to look through the deck.
I think he got disqualified round 1 because it was like the first effect that searched.
Okay.
It took the rest of the round to like shuffle his deck. It was like 2,000 cards. It was an acrylic case that they had special made.
Yes.
It was 2 people had to carry
Yeah, they look like
it.
pallbearers. Just carrying
Carry a
around Yu-Gi-Oh.
coffin. Yeah, so that's true. That is a big change that went through because that limited the deck. Then they brought it back down to 60 and was like, this is it. We're not dealing with
We're
this
not
ever
playing with
again.
this anymore.
And then which is funny about that because later they bring out cards like That Grass Looks Greener, which is a card that says the difference in the number from you and your opponent's deck size, you just mill that amount. So you could have, like, when it came out, 60 card decks were awesome because you
Right.
would just activate that and then mill 20, and then you just kill your opponent. So there has been some changes. I like definitely stuff like that. I mean, obviously you can't just have like 20,000 card decks running around
Right.
at any event. And the guy just did it to prove a point, which I just hats off to him because
Just trolling everyone.
Yep.
Oh
So
my God.
yeah, it's pretty cool. And with them just doing for them doing the 25th anniversary, they're bringing Worlds next year will be held at the Tokyo Dome,
Yo.
which is cool. But they did that once before, and it was the first Worlds, and it was like a nightmare scenario where like people like died. They didn't actually die, but like
trampled and
so.
like-
Apparently, Yu-Gi-Oh was huge in Japan. Like
Okay.
people, like it's part of like their culture. Because Worlds just finished up this past weekend, and I was listening to some people talk about it, and like if you, so it's a lot different than like middle school here, where like if you're wearing like a Yu-Gi-Oh shirt out in public, people are like, "Yo, I have a friend that plays that," instead of like, "Yo, you live in your mom's basement," or like something like that.
Right.
Like it's like a respected thing. But when Yu-Gi-Oh got first released there, they held their first Worlds at the Tokyo Dome, and there was like a cap on people, and they didn't have enough product, and the cards that you got for entering, it was like an Exodia head, and it ended up being worth like tens of thousands of dollars because there was like 300 of them, and they didn't even know who was going to get them. It was just like a huge fiasco. So I think it's funny that they chose to like
It all
relive
comes
this.
full circle. 25 years
Well,
later.
anything's better than the Office space they just held
Oh,
the
that was
tournament in.
disgusting. At least the final stage looked good. So I don't know. I'm sure you didn't get to see any of it or a lot of it, but they have like it's like a thing. Like Yu-Gi-Oh! Worlds is like an event. They had like a drum corps, like Japanese, like traditional, like dudes in robes banging on drums. Like it was
Jesus.
voice actors, like everything. So like it is really cool. And I think that's one of the reasons I like it so much is like being a part of that and like going to like a big event where they have the voice actors. They have all these things that like you don't ever get to see like going to even a regional level event. But like
You've never placed in Worlds, have you?
No, not in
Okay.
that. I I do this thing where I like to play bad decks, but
Okay.
so my thing is like I want to build something that's mine. So I'm not I'm not competitive in that way. Like I just really enjoy playing, especially now. Like having time to do what some of these guys do to get to that point is like good luck finding it if you have like any actual job or anything like that. Like it's tough, but like being able to see those people and like talk to a voice actor or get certain mats or certain like pop figures that is at all of these main events is really cool. Plus, like seeing all your friends from like I have a buddy in Germany who comes and sees us, like goes to the big event. So it's cool. It's definitely like probably not the level that Pokemon is. I've never been doing a Pokemon event, but I know that that's like a lot more user friendly.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So is Worlds kind of like the Olympics where like it's a different country every year?
so Worlds is the winner of nationals from each region. So North America, South America, Europe, Oceanic, so like Hawaii,
Okay,
Australia,
okay.
and then Japan, China, Korea. You all get a certain amount of representatives. They fly you out to wherever it's at. This year was in Tokyo, and then 32 players play off to the world champion, and then you get a personalized card and confetti and trophies and stuff.
So when I stopped playing too, Japan was like 3 packs ahead of us. Is that still the case, or is the world kind of like all on the same playing field now?
So that is kind of the case, and so I'll preface this by saying the U.S. had their first world champion this year.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah, we did it, America.
USA.
Pretty much everybody else in the world is absolutely disgusted that we won, but
Yeah.
I'm
First
kind of
and
disgusted with
ever.
yeah, honestly. But so a lot of that is attributed to not necessarily like a player skill, but the fact that they're playing with cards 3 months before we are. And so there is a lot of like people that are kind of like I wouldn't say upset because it's just the way things are. Like you can't be upset that this is like how the game is designed and how it's been for
Right, it's not the player's
so
fault
long.
that-
Right, exactly. But you'll have these really good players that have been at a disadvantage coming from any Europe, whether it's Europe, whether it's Australia, any of the English card game, going over there trying to compete in a format that they've been playing for 3 months. So it's actually like pretty exciting that we finally got one in a situation where you're just at a disadvantage from the get-go. So it is kind of shitty that that's how it goes, but I think it's just like business side of it. Like
Yeah.
it's a Japanese company, we have to translate everything and then print it out. But I don't remember if that's how it always was. Was that how it's always been? I don't know.
I remember whenever a new pack was coming out, we would find out about it like a month and a half ahead of time or something like that. And we could go online and we could get like the rough translations of everything. Because I remember like we'd sit in one of our basements and we would download like just like an Excel file kind of like what the cards were and the effects. And we'd sit there and we'd try and make like decks and be like, oh, what's this guy do or something like that. I remember what was it? Pharaoh something. The one Buster Blader came in.
Pharaoh Sir?
Was it Pharaoh's Servant?
Yeah, like the Jinzo pack.
I think that was Jinzo
Okay.
as
Yeah.
well.
Okay, yeah, because I just remember like seeing Buster Blader and being like, this card looks so fucking dope. I can't wait to like build a deck around him or something like that. But I don't know, building a deck around Buster Blader back then was almost impossible because you had like
Well, like building a deck around any like one specific
one character.
So
Yeah.
like another big thing in Yu-Gi-Oh was like the advent of like the archetype. So when they were like, look, this is a deck. And these are 40 cards, or like maybe not 40, but like these are 15 cards that make up that all work together that make up this deck that like you didn't get back in like Yu-Gi Kaiba structure deck days where you were like monster, big attack, good,
Right.
like, and then like power spells like Monster Reborn, Change of Heart. Like then you started getting into a world of things like Lightsworn or like Dark Worlds, and like when these
Right.
Black Wings, when that came out, like you weren't just like playing beatdown. Like this is like a Blackwing deck that was like a huge change in like how Yu-Gi-Oh was played. Like
right, because like the first two sets didn't even have like effects. Like they were just
Legend
normal
of Blue Eyes, I
monsters.
think, has 2 effect monsters, and I think it's like
Man-Eater Bug.
Man-Eater Bug and Hane. And like,
Yes.
or like the one card that says like destroy a monster that attacks this on the 5th turn after this monster is destroyed.
Right.
So like, are you using that over like an 1800 attack monster? Probably not. Like,
Oh my god, my favorite deck, and I will die on this this hill is I made a Monarch deck where all of my little puny monsters were just Man-Eater Bug, Old Vindictive Magicians, was it Nudora or something like that, where
The one that, yeah, something like
anyone
that.
who
Yeah.
attacks it, like you blow them both up
Well,
or
like
something like
Wall
that.
of Illusion, and
Yup.
like what is the Grandmaster guy that when you get it to attack, he bounces the monster. I don't know. He's like big. He's like
The spirit thing?
Yeah,
Spirit Reaper? No, that's the one that can't die.
That's the one that can't die. This is like the 1800 attack monster that you set face down, and anything that attacks it, it bounces.
Yeah.
But yeah, like stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I just did that, and then I ran 3 soul exchanges. So it's like, no matter what you attacked, I killed you. And then if you got to keep a monster on the field, I sacrificed it for a monarch that killed you. And that was great for all of, like, one set. And then it just got obliterated.
Well, it's not even that. Like, I think that's one thing that I look back on happily was because, like, sure, we didn't have, like, the advent of the internet as far as like trading card games went, with like being able to buy them, being able to watch YouTube videos on how to build these decks. Like that didn't exist. So basically anything we played was playable because it was in the realm of our 20 friends. Like you weren't getting like somebody who had a maxed out deck that you had no shot of playing against. And I do miss that because I think back then, like I could just like have fun. I could like build a deck. That Thursday we'd go to the shop and play, and it was our friends group that was at that shop. So like you could build a deck like that and still win games because the goal wasn't to like win that locals.
Right. It was just to have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I do miss that a lot because a lot of people are in it now for just like competitive. Well, I'm not really that competitive. And like, but so back to you saying Monarchs, it's funny because one of the big things that they introduced, I think, like right before COVID hit, was that they do like retro formats now in Yu-Gi-Oh. So like, there's like an Edison format where the Monarch Frog deck is like one of the best decks.
Hell yeah!
And so this came up a couple years ago where where like players started doing this. Like, man, this format blows. Let's go back to 2012 and play, or like let's go back to GOAT format, like right after. Forget where GOAT format ends, but I think it's like right after like Magic Ruler. So you still have like Heavy Storm, you still have Monster Reborn, Tribe Infecting Virus, all of these like old school nostalgic cards that like people who are now like 35 years old are like, man, that was a great time in Yu-Gi-Oh! Let's go back and play that. But now Konami has finally like embraced that and understands that like that's a part of the game. So they're like hosting tournaments of like GOAT format, of what's called Edison format, where like Black Wings is one of the best decks. Light Sworns just came out. Frog Monarchs is a big thing. And there's like, so you're getting this whole other side of the game where players who don't know what Link Monsters are, don't know what Exceeds are, but like were good then and understand how the game is played then, are like getting a resurgence and being like, man, I can come back and build these decks and play in actual like sanctioned events with like prize cards and like tournaments that are legal that you can play with your deck from 2014, which is sick.
Looks like you've activated my trap card. This prevents you from watching the rest of the episode. Now you have to wait a whole nother week. Check back next week for part 2 of our Yu-Gi-Oh! Discussion where we cover the anime.
If you enjoyed that episode, make sure to join us here every Thursday on YouTube and Spotify as we drop new episodes of that good shit.
And don't forget to give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok for some solid filler content to get you through the week at Not Mike, Not Pat. You should be watching.